times do you forgive yourself during the day? Or forgive other people? I mean, sometimes somebody walks in front of you at the store and you're just kind of, okay. And hopefully, when somebody does that on the road, you just kind of go, okay. I don't want to know that you have a gun under the car seat, okay? But I mean, it's just kind of part of life that we forgive. It's not even necessarily a Christian thing. We like to claim it sometimes, but it really isn't part of all religions and part of most societies, that forgiveness is something we do for one another. But then we have this Jesus person. And once Jesus gets a hold of something, he kind of blows it up and makes it bigger than what the normal world is like. Again, we get to hear from Peter, one of my favorite apostles, because he always asks these impetuous questions. He doesn't filter things, it just kind of comes out. So Lord, how many times do I have to forgive my brother who's always doing something? Am I on? Anyway, we're not going to worry about it. How many times do I have to forgive? And he goes, 7 times. Well, you have to realize that up until that time, the tradition in the Jewish faith was 4. You'll read in books like Amos and other prophets that it'll say 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and then the 4th time, something different will happen. When somebody does something 3 times, but the 4th time, the tradition was that you would forgive someone 3 times, but not a 4th time for something. Kind of like 3 times and you're out. And then, but in this reading, Peter takes a stand and he goes, how about 7 times? Because he's kind of reflecting back on a story in the Old Testament where a man named Lamech said, if somebody attacks my home, I'm going to come back at them 7 times more than that, than what they do to me. So some of us may have grown up with learning this as being 7 times 7 or 7 times 70. You know, and actually the Greek is really hard to read, so we don't know if they meant 7 times 7, 7 times 70, or 77. So don't take translating the Bible as something easy to do, okay? But in other words, Jesus comes back and says, no, 77 times, or 70 times that. In other words, there should be no end to your offering forgiveness to someone. And what he's really saying there, and we get that out of our Old Testament reading. I don't know if you remember the story of Joseph. Joseph was just this young man who just happened to be a favorite to his dad. And his brothers didn't appreciate that. I know that never happens in any of your families. None of the kids feel like the other one's a favorite. No. My house either. Much. Anyway, and so Joseph's brothers got tired of him and they threw him down in a pit. And they were going to kill him, and instead they sold him as a slave to a group coming through. And years later, they would find out that he's in a palace and they are hungry, and the country where he's in the palace has food. And the brothers have to go up to Joseph and say, hi, you're not going to hold a grudge, are you? Would you hold a grudge if somebody tried to kill you? I would. It's hard not to. But Joseph got a message from God that says, you know what? It's not about you holding the grudge. And in fact, even Joseph says that. He says, Why are you afraid of me? Am I in the place of God? Because only God gets to judge. God is the judge. We don't get to judge. That's not our job. Our job is to love and care and support one another, to take care of one another. And I'm sorry, folks, but that's hard enough. You just take away that judging and we still have plenty to do. And so forgiveness is an incredible gift that God gives us, and we are asked to share it with one another. One of the things that I like to think about is the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I'm going to pick on kids. Nicholas, what's a trespass? That's the right answer. Kenzie? Sins. A sin? Yeah. Keaton, what do you think?
A lie.
A lie? Adults?
Physical abuse.
Pardon? A physical abuse?
Mental abuse.
I hated the word trespass as a child because I didn't know what it meant. Kenzie, have you used it in a sentence this week?
No.
Other than the Lord's Prayer at confirmation? Nope, I didn't think so. It's not a word we use very much. And the only thing I knew about trespassing was, you're trespassing on my booth. Get off of my booth, you know? You're in my space. But you know, that really helped me understand forgiveness too. Because we have that line in the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our trespasses. Forgive me the trespasses I do, Lord, as I forgive those who trespass against me. How much of my sin is me trying to be God? Here, God, I'll take care of that today. Let me do this. Oh, I think Bob should be doing this. So here I am, trespassing into Bob's space, playing God, thinking I should be able to tell him what to do, right? I should tell Eileen what to do. Forgive me my trespasses. I think of Adam and Eve. The story there is they wanted to be God. And so many of our sins are about us wanting to be God. We trespass into God's space saying, here, let me take care of it. And we start deciding what others should do and should be. And we forget that that's up to God. And so often what we get angry with other people is they're trespassing in our space, doing the same thing right back at us. So trespass can be a good word. You know, you're kind of in my space, in my place. And sometimes we take that on. We want to be God and we trespass into what He should be doing, not us. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things in our lives. Dealing with forgiveness. Forgiving others, forgiving ourselves, and being able to move on. As I dealt with this week, I kind of thought to myself, what if I started my prayer time off giving thanks for everything God has given me? How long is your list? And I don't want you to just go family, food, house, okay, we're done. No, I want you to think of your ability to think, your ability to love, your ability to do all the things you can do. So that might take you a little while. Then I would like you to think about, in your list, what you would like to be forgiven for. Now, I know how my normal days go. Sometimes my list is pretty long before I get out of bed in the morning, because I'm not happy about something, or something's sat in my mind all night, or I have to do something I don't want to do, and I think poorly of someone, or of myself, or of what I have to do. So if we spent time first listing everything we're grateful for, then everything we need to ask for forgiveness for, then we start listing the people who owe us forgiveness, that we think they've hurt us. But then we have to pause. Because if we've just listed to God all the things we need to be we need to be forgiven for, and all of a sudden we find out that just by asking for forgiveness, we are forgiven. It's done. The whiteboard is erased. It's a clean slate. We're starting over again. Next. And then you're going to turn to God and say, oh yeah, get back at Jane because she did this to me. Get back at Denise because she did that to me. And God's going to go, really? Didn't I just forgive you for everything you just rattled off to me? Kind of feels backwards, doesn't it? You know, there are some things that are really hard to forgive. And sometimes when I've heard this forgive 7 times or 70 times 7 or 77, I think sometimes some things that happened in my life or to my children, I've had to get up multiple days and forgive somebody over and over again for the same thing. And sometimes people can rub you the wrong way and it feels like it's a different thing every time you run into them. But I want you to think about, if you are spending your life keeping track and counting how many times somebody has sinned against you, or you think they have, you need a new life. That's why that list of what God has given you and the blessings you have, what you need to be forgiven for, and what you think others might owe you, that doesn't even become on the list after a while. This past week, I had some pretty tough conversations. Some of them were over the phone, and some were face-to-face. And one ended up with forgiveness being asked for. From one of the last people on the planet I would have expected that from. And it left me breathless and in tears that this person, after what had been said and done, would ask for forgiveness. It is incredible what that gift does. And we can only do such a thing when we are in relationship with God. When we know that we have the divine on our side. This isn't something we do easy and off the cuff. We need divine help to forgive and to let go of those things that we think somebody has trespassed into our area. Don't get me wrong, we always have things we have to hold people accountable for. We can't let people off free when they are hurting someone or things are being done. But we are never, as Christians, and I do not use that word lightly, we are never to stop looking for the opportunity to forgive. Because God never takes that opportunity away from us to be forgiven. What an incredible gift that is. I hope you share that gift this week. And I hope you experience it for yourself.